My guest, Rich Tomasini, is here today on the Make It, Keep It, Invest It podcast. Rich, thank you for being here. I'm excited for our conversation.
Likewise, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Let me ask you this. So, when you hear Make It, Keep It, Invest It, what kind of comes to mind? What do you think? And then how does that apply to your life and business?
Well, that's basically the skeleton of what we're doing when we're business owners. So it's it's just nothing comes to mind except for I probably live in those three different phases constantly. At this place in my life, I'm probably more in the invested side of it, uh, with some management of keep it. Whereas I think maybe the majority of guests watching any show might still be in that make it type of period. So, it's funny because the more you make of it, the more risk adverse you get, and keeping it sometimes can outweigh the investing it and slow you down. So it's just kind of like managing what's boiling over and what's not getting enough heat.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that. Okay. So, I also want to, what's that? Yeah, it's like, please. Don't, and I think people underestimate the importance of the keep it piece because they hear me say make it, keep it, invest it, and they get fixated on the end caps. And then when
Yeah.
you truly have wealth like you do, it is keeping it that is the more critical of the three.
I mean, at some point we end up being like a 5'2", 96-year-old that goes in the bank and renews the CD, right? Like you could see how that can manifest, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Keeping it to me is pretty easy. I think where most of that work gets done is in managing your lifestyle. So what happens I see is a lot of people end up building a lifestyle around a couple good peak years. And when you're self-employed, applying for a 30-year mortgage is always that question like, well, I don't even know if I could pay for this thing in 30 years. We're never consistent, right? I'm
You're
not
like
like a teacher.
next month, yes.
Yeah,
Following
yeah,
month,
yeah. Yeah, I'll give you like a good 6-month run for sure. So anyway,
I'll give it my best effort.
yeah, yeah. I've survived this long. That should be worth something. So anyway, one of the ways that I always think about keeping it is just mostly dialing in what your output is monthly, and then adding on top of that, taxes, savings, and making sure that we hit minimum goals, targeted goals, and optimal goals.
Yeah, you've always been a good example of all of these things. So thank you.
Well, I mean, I married up in this category, in most categories, but my wife is really conservative financially.
Yeah,
So that's
it's a
helped.
great partner to have. You're lucky.
I need yeah, because for me, I would
I
have,
mean, as real estate entrepreneurs, we can be wild creatures. So yes, we need those
yeah,
stabilizers that are like,
yeah, yeah,
hey,
yeah.
maybe not all the way down, but one notch down would be a good idea.
Well, I mean, I think just the basic nature of an entrepreneur is a risk taker, and you're operating between feast or famine, like a ping pong game. So when you're living big, you're living big, and when you're living small, it's
I feel
well,
it.
yeah, it's just life, right?
Well, okay, Rich. So there's one of my favorite things to do on the podcast is point out two things that I really respect and admire about the guest and how he or she operates in his life and business.
Okay.
And there's two for you that were like they were very easy and came to mind immediately. And it was in real estate, a lot of people do recruiting, which you're a heavy recruiter. And for you though, you don't just recruit people and drop it, right? You develop leaders and you pour into people for years and years and years, long after the excitement fades off. When there's feelings and emotions, you always are just this steady guy that shows up consistently pouring into people over and over and over again. So your ability to develop leaders is something I really respect and admire. So that's number 1. And then number 2 is so like I was kind of mentioning, you are the figurehead and leader of almost 3,000 agents, I believe at this point.
Yeah,
And
I'm like
um
and shy.
yeah, yeah. So well, yeah, so you'll eclipse 3,000 in 2026 and that is a lot of people. And what I notice with you is the way you do influence is not loud, right? It's based very much on trust and the way that trust compounds. And so I think a lot of people in their imagination, should they be in your position of being the leader and the figurehead of 3,000 agents, they would maybe think they're, like, out there in Lambos and flashing around, and you are very grounded and steady, and you really understand that influence about is about trust compounding. So those are the 2 things that I appreciate. I am personally a student and beneficiary of your coaching and leadership, so thank you for those gifts, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if I warrant that kind of compliment totally. It's an effort to be that way, but yeah, I don't know. Like there's a professional promise to me that sort of has longer legs than we're all fuzzy in the first 3 weeks of a relationship, right? And like one of the things that I try to do is while I am wildly unprofessional, right? I am a professional. Uh, um, I'm a professional driving force. I'm gonna drive past the emotions, past the valleys and peaks of relationships, past the market cycles, and like when I make a promise professionally to somebody, it's that I'm gonna support you long term. And wherever you're at in your life, there's always a place that you can meet me, and you don't have to do any explaining. From that conversation forward, we work on whatever you're seeking out a way for me to help you. And then the other part of it too is like it's just I don't think that I deserve any credit for leading quietly. That's just an evolution of success. Like I used to be on stage and I used to do that stuff. And what you realize is a lot of those people are just feeding their egos, they're egomaniacs. Right. And I've had seasons like that too. So I don't say that from a place of
Yeah, it's
judgment,
like
but
with agents, I'm like, "It's amazing our heads all fit through the door, guys." Like, "How did we get in
unbelievable.
here?"
Everybody's
Yeah.
a yeah, everybody's a rock star in real estate. Like those words don't even coexist.
Even, like, I always love, like, the top 1%. I'm like, if anybody it's like, you gotta know that's, like, a industry
Yeah.
inside joke where it's like everybody's top 1% of something
Oh,
in their own imagination.
number one. Everybody's number one in some micro market. Like, yeah, I'm number one on my street, but they don't disclose on my street. So one of the things that I find to be interesting is just as you start to kind of get what you need uh behind you, not that we're not always needing different things, but like let's just say financial security is something that we want for safety. Some of us want it for just absolute materialistic buying and binges and all that stuff, right? But most of us are really just trying to get safe in an unsafe realm of entrepreneurship. So once you get safe, whatever that number is for you, then at that point, it's a lot more about trying to repeat that feeling because it's so cathartic and overwhelming. And you can't help other people experience that while you're on stage talking to people. You have to be in the audience listening and helping getting them on stage to go through that rite of passage. So it's more of just a byproduct or the nature of feeling safe and getting over your bullshit and working on someone else. So we're really very uninteresting. And I think as soon as you realize how uninteresting you are, what becomes far more interesting is someone you don't know so well. So
Yes.
anyway,
Yeah.
hard to take credit for that. I think it's just part of the process. Yeah.
I don't underestimate yourself. You are very skilled, Rich, and I know how much you study leadership and how much restraint it takes to do what you do, and it's admirable. And then I have a 3rd thing for you that I wanna bring up before we get to our next topic. You mentioned leading through emotional volatility, and I'm gonna say that again. You are exceptional at leading through emotional volatility, and real estate agents, whether we like it or not, like entrepreneurs, volatile creatures, up, down, they get pissed off, they love you, they hate you, tantrum, whatever high highs, low lows, right? And that creates that volatility. A lot of entrepreneurs come from not the best upbringing, so there's not a lot of skills there. So we don't need to get into all that. I mean, we can, but maybe maybe for a
Yeah.
different thing. But can you just touch on leading through emotional volatility and how you do that?
Yeah. I mean, the first place to learn how to do that is to be emotionally volatile. Right. So, got it. Um, the other part
Same, I
is,
mean, same, I'll admit it. Same.
yeah, of course. I mean, listen, if I wasn't so emotional, it would suck because all the magic that I have is tied through that. And then it's also such a terrible handicap personally. So, what I always ask myself, I go through filters, right? So, like, am I reacting or am I responding? And I get caught up in reacting, but I need to mature into responding and compress that period of reacting to the smallest window possible. So if I fall off and I have like a 7 or 8 minute reaction, I need to move into a response before the call's over. Right. And then the other thing too is, being a parent, that's one thing that parenting teaches you is that people who are irrationally behaving around you that you think are the best people in the world, right, are just going through an emotional cycle, right? And you don't hate your kids because they're feeling that way. You understand it. And I think that a lot of us, based on your earlier, let's not go down that rabbit hole statement, are emotionally regulated at a very young age and don't continue to morph into a mature emotional regulation period. So I find myself, I always, when I see adults, this is what helps me. Let me just answer the question. Like when I see Marissa, like everybody sees Marissa as like this driving force, intelligent, high IQ, big thinker, right? Visionary type things. But I always see Marissa as a 9-year old girl. That's how I always see you. I even see myself that way in a lot of cases, right? But like every time I see somebody, I see their kid first. And I try to
Yep,
talk to the kid,
yep,
right? Even though
yeah.
you can blow me away in dialogue on all these different verticals, I'm talking to the 9-year old because essentially we're all just
She's
pretending
got
that
some
we're
scars
adults.
and some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
I mean, I'm not 40.
She's gonna create some problems. Yeah,
No, but I mean, I'm not 49. I'm 9 with 40 years of being 9.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah. That's okay, I love that's a great pro tip, and I see that in you, and
Well,
that does
it
help.
helps give you empathy
Yes, yes, we
because
need
that's
empathy.
something that people that are wired like super assertive, fight on the front foot, we can lose empathy in the vision.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, kinda lo we lose the plot if we don't do that, and we get wrapped up.
well, at some point, like, you just want to start controlling things, right? Like, I always consider myself a very natural, benevolent dictator. Just do what I tell you to do and we'll be fine.
It would be great.
It's not like a real inclusive process, right? So, like, one of the things that I've learned, and I'm surrounded by a disproportionate amount of women, in the industry
Real
that,
estate. Yeah.
and, you can't just go mansplain your way through this whole deal. Like, you have to ask questions, you have to take feedback. I've had a lot of negative feedback, like,
Mhm.
especially like the last 8 years, like scaling
Yeah.
out. And I believe that most of the negative feedback I've had has been true,
Oof. Rich. That's
right?
heavy. Yeah.
Well, it's just true. I don't think people are like going out of their way to hurt my feelings. I think I'm getting feelings hurt by people giving me feedback. And what I do with that feedback is like super important because if I dismiss it, like, I don't know, then at that point, I'm basically saying indirectly that everyone's just trying to take me down. But I don't think people are
It's not
like that.
true. No.
No, I think they're giving me feedback and it comes out maybe rough around the edges because they're in a moment where that feedback is so true and so spot on that it comes out in a blurt.
Well, and I think that goes back to, like, a lot of us were never taught skills, right? Communication
Yes.
skills, emotional regulation skills, and so
Yes.
when there is a height in emotion, it tends to come out with these very, very sharp edges, and I've been on the giving and receiving end of these
Me
sharp
too.
edges, and it hurts,
Yeah.
and you have 2 choices, right? Like you said, like, learn from it and get better or get pissed off and just do your own
Yeah.
thing, which is not
Well,
a real life scenario.
like one of the things that I try to tell myself internally while I'm experiencing the wrath of somebody's feelings is just most people can't see past their pain, right? And what I have to do if I'm going to lead, which is not a job that I signed up for, I ended up just being like, well, to me, the way that I recruited was I was recruiting a concept that was basically a middle finger to the business. So I felt passionate about being an arsonist because I thought
Yeah.
the whole business was broken. So it's not like I'm pro any brokerage. I'm just anti every brokerage, right? Like, so I feel like that about politics. I feel like that about everything. I'm not really, I don't think there's a good guy in the group, right? So anyway, so with that, I ended up accidentally becoming a leader. And, in a, what I realized, and I'm still realizing this mostly when I take things for granted, but it's relationships. It's a relationship business. And then I'm here leading on relationships, and I'm really not good with relationships. So
Yes, that resonates.
it's hard.
Not for just across the board observationally of the entire industry.
I'm great to be around. I'm not great to be in a relationship with, right? I'm not talking just romantically. I'm just saying, like, in relationships, I'm a pain in the ass, right? So being that I'm in a relationship business, like, I had to start from a negative, like, we weren't starting at neutral. We were starting at like minus
You're behind the line.
90,000. And like,
Yeah.
you're talking to me like 8.5 years into this experiment. And I'm like, neutral's like a 5 years away from where I'm at now. But here's the good news: people did watch me move 90,000 decimal points,
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I
right?
mean, it's pretty jaw-dropping what you built and did. So, that actually
Well,
okay, so that let me ask you this. So, in the make it component of this, so the man I see in front of me, leading almost 3,000 real estate agents, seven-figure entrepreneur on his way to becoming an eight-figure entrepreneur. What what were the signs like, before you got to the rich that I see in front of me now, what did you do? And, like, what do you continue to do, like, on a daily basis that had you knowing you were gonna make it to where you're going? At least the signs were showing you, "Keep going," like, "Green light, keep going."
so just for the record, because I want to present myself honestly, I am not flirting with 8 figures of income at all.
Yes,
Like,
you are. Yes,
no,
with
I
the
am
investment
very,
as to what
very
you're doing.
I'm very healthy in the 7 figure area. Like, I didn't just barely make it, but 8 figures feels like a stretch for me. I'm not saying I won't get there, but like, that is that's a whole nother level, right? So I don't want you to feel like, I don't want the viewer to feel like I'm speaking from that level. I'm not. I don't know if I even want to get to that level, because I think you get super weird at that point. But I guess the one thing,
I was like, "I don't think either one of us needs to get any weirder."
no, listen, money will enhance your inner asshole in a way that is just unbelievable. That's why you're so fortunate if you can make money in your 40s and 50s and not in your 20s. Plus you normally don't have to give it back. So anyway, yeah, the make it part's really, really simple. Like, um, giving, like, actually caring about what's going on has always been a common denominator, right? Like, I don't need to work anymore, but I still care. So therefore I work, right? So, and then the other thing is like, I've always been an offensive fighter. Like, I always feel like the best defense is like a very, very solidified offense. So whether I'm like selling chapstick or doing yard work or in the brokerage industry or anything, like, it's going to always be consulting, coaching, developing others, setting the pace, leading by example, not 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 weak leadership. I'll be wrong confidently. But so anyway, so like, there's sort of like, you have to show up in the way that you're trying to cultivate. Like, that's one of the most uh uh like like, really, it's the biggest epiphany among parents, is that your kids aren't listening to a word that you're saying. They're
To
only
everything you
watching,
do.
right? So, like, if I wanna run a 4-minute mile, Marissa, I can't teach you how to run a 4-minute mile until you watch me click one through. And, like, one of the things that have worked out really well for me is that I am not really that afraid of people not liking me. So I've done it in a very I used to do it in a very transparent way. Like, you could watch me fail and laugh and root against me, and I'll give you that laugh, but I don't care. Like, I'm on the record. I'm doing it, right? So, anyway, I think the make it part is, like, driving results. I don't know whatever you're doing while you're watching this, but someone's having to drive results. I'd rather be that person, because that makes me irreplaceable if I'm really good at it, right? And then two is, I want to fly the plane. That's how I know I'm going to be safe. That's why I don't like going on airplanes, because somebody else is flying the plane, right? So if I can drive results, and I can drive them really, really well, I feel like that's not going to be replaced by AI.
I think you're the living embodiment. Do you ever know that Jocko book called Extreme Ownership? It's
Yeah,
your
so,
fault.
okay.
That's so you.
Yeah, so Jocko, I only sound that way probably because he indoctrinated some of my thinking, but Extreme Ownership is a fantastic book, right? And anyway, yeah, I love Jocko. That's
You embody it.
yeah,
So, I think that's
yeah,
it shows that you've read that.
yeah.
Okay, so keep it. We kinda talked about keep it, but this is something where maybe let me rephrase this question. What did you have to change or stop doing? So it's like as you building, right?
Yes.
Because there's levels of leadership. What did you have to stop doing to keep what you had going on?
So I had to become less accessible, right? I had to meet with people that um I wasn't trying to fix, but were aiming toward a similar mission. Like you have to save the people swimming toward the boat, right? No people, no
Yes, say
people
that again. You
pleasing.
have to save the people swimming towards the boat. If they're
Yeah,
let them go.
I would love to go save them. It's just there's so many people swimming toward the boat. I feel like it's unjust to go jump in the water after someone's swimming away. Um, I think the other part is really just constantly subtracting. Like I'm maniacal about subtracting things from my schedule. So I'm gonna work Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. That part of my life I'm willing to trade to the outside world to have Monday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's what works for me where I'm at now. So to get in those slots, like it has to be good for my group, right? So my group is my family, my friends, people I care for, charities that I feel strongly about, or the person right in front of me trying to make a difference in their life, right? So anyway, so I'm constantly subtracting. That's another thing. Keeping focus on what actually has good ROI is super important. And then the other part too is like delayed gratification, I think is huge, right? Like if I want to go buy, let's just say that I wanted to buy a Ferrari, right? And a Ferrari is $400,000 for the car that I want. I'll just use a random number because I don't know how much Ferraris cost. I just know that with inflation, it's probably at least 400,000, right? So like at that point, how much money do I need to have saved to pay for the Ferrari and the yield can then buy the car? I'm willing to do that,
Yeah.
right? Or
The
delayed
patience.
gratification in the sense that like I'm willing to work 6 or 7 years really hard at something to get to achieve what I'm aiming for. Where I think a lot of people, if they can't have it in a year or two, they end up changing and putting their ladder on another building.
Yes. The instant gratification is real in the entrepreneur crowd,
It
and that
is.
is I do think though I'll be 44 this year, and I'm enjoying my 40s because I have finally like that drive that I have, it's still there, but the patience is just really
Yeah.
starting to exponentially increase, and I was like, I honestly didn't ever think I was gonna get there, so I know you're
Age
ahead of
is
me on the age thing, and it's age has done more than anything for my entrepreneurship journey over the last couple years, honestly, like
age is
and
better than
patience,
therapy.
it's bringing patience.
It's better than therapy because it actually works itself out. So yeah, I think 45 to 55 is probably a really, really apex predator because you have a lot of that drive and animal instinct, and then you're using your logical brain and you're not chasing every little thing. It's precision hunting. Um, yeah, it's a good decade, even though it doesn't fall evenly. 45 to 55, I think, is really, really good. I didn't enjoy my early 40s as much as I probably could have, but I'm enjoying each day now far more. Now, keep in mind, like, even when you solve all these problems, joy doesn't just rush in, right? Like, I'm constantly navigating through cycles of like contentment, joy, fulfillment, harmony, all those things. Like, it's a full time, it's like a jazz band going on in here, right? Everyone's playing a different song, and sometimes the music sounds right, and sometimes it just sounds like noise. But for the most part, I think a lot of stuff evens out. I will say though is like, you know, it's very important to find peace and love in whatever you're doing. Like a lot of you guys are locked into businesses that you hate, right? So like for example, like if I'm gonna mop the floor, right, which I try to avoid as much as possible, I'm going to mop the floor perfectly. Every corner, every chair will be moved. I will do a perfect job. And in that controlling from A to B, the mopping of the floor, I know that I showed up and it looks perfect. and I took pride in my work and I had honor in the process. And then I'm like, okay, if I got to mop the floor, then that's a great opportunity for me to listen to a podcast. So now I'm entertained, right? So like I'm constantly tricking myself into or manipulating my mind into being grateful and present for what I'm not. So like I really don't like the real estate industry. I like real estate. I don't like the industry. I really don't like realtors. I like people. I just don't particularly like realtors. Right. So like who am I going to speak to? Like all the people that I'm going to have on my calendar are great people that accidentally are realtors. And that allows me to continue to be passionate.
Yep. Yeah, and I like it so it reminds me of, like, how you show up here is how you show up anywhere, right? So if you're mopping the floor, leading 3,000 people, you do it the
Yeah.
same. And I think
Yeah.
people
You do
miss
it the same.
that behavioral memo is, you
Yeah.
know, just how you show up here is how you show up anywhere, and doing being a student of excellence is important.
Well, if you don't have like an innate amount of self-esteem or self-respect, the beautiful part is that you can earn it along the way and achieve it, right? So how I do one thing for you or how I do it for myself and you benefit from it allows me to have self-respect, honor, and feel good about something. And you can build on that. You could stack thousands of examples and wins like that. And before you know it, most of the time you feel pretty good because you're doing it right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a confidence stack, so I love that. Okay, let me ask you this. So let's get to invest it. So,
Yes. Okay. I think yeah.
primarily what I do now is real estate coaching and investing, and there is a point in every single agent's career where they have to leverage through people, right? Whether that's bringing on a transaction coordinator, building a team, whatever it may be. And so my question to you is like, we all know you're great at underwriting investment deals and all that stuff, but how do you underwrite people when you have to build your organization?
Well, first of all, I have an avatar of what basic standards they meet before I start to invest in them.
Mm. What
Right?
are
I'm
those?
not like just adopting every puppy. Competitive sports in the background seems to be a common denominator
Yes.
with partners.
Yes.
Sole providers. I like sole providers. 40 to 60-year olds, my favorite, right? Like it's game time. We're not practicing, right? Um, um, People that I like depressed people more than I like fearful people because they at least know what the view looks like and they just fell all the way down the mountain. We can get them back up to that view because they're not happy. Fearful people, I don't, that doesn't work for me. You know, I can love them, but I can't work with them, right? So, as far as like delegating responsibility, it's very simple. Like if you make less money per hour than I do, you're doing it. And then I'm going to recast my time to do the magic part that makes me all the money that I'm making to be able to afford to pay somebody else to do something cheaper. Okay. So like that's just a math issue. Um, and then like, and then like, do you want to go into like a little bit more granular of like
Yes.
what investing
Yes,
looks like?
because this
All right.
is
So
critical. Because you can only be a solo contributor for you cap yourself if you don't learn how to bring people
yeah,
in and out of your
yeah,
organizations.
yeah. If you can scale a hero, then you're telling me that Batman exists. Okay. You can't scale a hero, right? So what I decided to do was I needed to be in a business where I can leverage. I don't want to trade time for money. I want to build something that has momentum far beyond my reach. I want a ripple effect. If I throw a pebble in the water and there's one ring, that doesn't make sense to me. It's not nature. Nature is when there's a ripple effect. So anything that I can have a ripple effect in warrants me going into a dark place and working very hard for a stretch of time. Okay. And then like here's just some basic principles. Like my wife and I have been like this for a decade or more than a decade. We save half of what we make, we save at a minimum. If that's not enough for you guys, then you're not working enough jobs or you're not doing your primary job hard and long enough, or you're in the wrong industry. So you have to figure that out fast. Direction, speed, right? You talk about consistency, motivation, all that stuff, right? Two. So like one of the things is like, what is AI going to disrupt? Well, people are going to still need a place to live. So having a residential portfolio that's paid off in cash that I can bonus depreciate, that I can have appreciation on, that's income approach based as well as sales comparison approach based is always very attractive to me. Okay. So I always want a residential income. So like our whole goal is to have our portfolio paid off and printing enough money to cover all of our overhead. That's my oh shit folder. So I'm always buying more. And then the peak earning years that you're having, you need a tax loophole and they just the synergy there is just so magical. Two is S&P. I'm always betting on global talent, right? Healthy companies, right? Three, whole life insurance with a term rider on just in case I do die early, and then all this cash value and using your privatized banking and infinite banking is a key. Lending out private money, I've been doing that. I got a lot of money out right now, actually, and I feel great about it. So there's 12% returns. Now I made 18, 19% in the stock market last year. So like that's why they're all important, right? Whereas real estate might have only gone up 5 or 6% or 3% or down 3%, right? So and then, I'm still a big fan of like, you know, gold, right? I think
I
gold
mean,
and silver.
gold and silver have been on a rocket ship.
I mean, what holds true for your whole life since the second you open your eyes? That statement holds true. Real estate holds true. The stock market holds true depending on if you
Even
have
the
to.
stock market, so people get confused about that, but I'm like, the S&P 500 is simply the 500 biggest companies in the United States. So if you believe in the United States, it's a good thing to invest in. It's a
I mean,
no-brainer.
all you need is an ETF on the S&P, and
Yep.
that's it.
I mean,
You
you
don't
know
have
that.
to.
I've got my 16-year-old niece and 10-year-old niece, and I'm teaching them to invest in the
Good.
S&P 500
That's
dividend
it.
reinvestment. So
Yeah.
I can
Yep.
teach children to do this. So adults, you guys can definitely minimum standard $100 a month into an S&P 500 tracker to put that investor hat on. It's a must.
It's a must. And then here's the other thing is obviously time is like the eighth wonder of the world, right? So like even if you're investing pennies and quarters in your 20s is exponentially than being better than being a great saver at 45 for the first time, right? Yeah. So like getting that indoctrinated in the young minds is really a superpower.
Yeah.
Time and compounding interest, like what a magical,
It is magical. Even, like, I have them pull up compounding interest calculators and maybe I'll do a little
unbelievable.
podcast with them is, like 'cause I'm like, "These kids can tell me how it compounds, what their wealth will be when they're my age," and that's kind of the game we
Yes.
play. I'm like, "Okay, when you're my age, how much money are you gonna have in your portfolios?"
It's so funny. So I have my oldest son has $530. My youngest son, who's 2 years and 9 months less, has $132, and I think he owes me 10. So maybe like 122, right? And you would think like, "Oh, the old one's such a better investor." He's not a better investor. He controls the spending. So we could put a blindfold on him and he could put all that money in the S&P or a shopping plaza or a gold bar or Bitcoin even, right? And in 20 years, he's going to be way further down the head, right? So like most of it's not like what a sound investor you are. Most of it is just how much self-control do you have?
It's yeah, I was gonna say self-control, patience, discipline, time on task, because I tell everybody, I'm like, "You can become a millionaire off of $100 a month with enough time," and it's almost like they get annoyed at me because they want
Oh,
it
I
to be
know.
faster.
Well,
Like,
because
they're
you stripped
pissed,
them
and
of their
and they
excuse.
kinda, like, roll their eyes, and I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
what else are you doing?" Like, you've gotta start somewhere and build the habits and the discipline in those daily actions.
That's why I like Dave Ramsey because his personality doesn't do anything for me. It also doesn't upset me like it upsets some. It just doesn't do anything for me. It's just very uninteresting personality. But what I love about his show is you have school teachers that are set up better in retirement than you have people that are off Wall Street, right? So, and the other part too is like, that whole fight about like, do I pay my mortgage off? Like, pay your mortgage off. And then if you want to get a HELOC and go reinvest that in something, do it. Most people won't do that.
Well, and I think too, there is what is sound, and then there is what is right for you and your family and your situation. You know, so if paying off that house is the right thing that makes you feel safe, and I think a lot of people misunderstand that safety is one of the most critical steps to financial freedom. It's like you have to feel financially safe before you will ever feel financially free.
So the way that I work, and maybe this is my own idiosyncrasy, but the safer that I feel, the more chances I'm willing to take because I have safe covered. And you don't want to get into the gambler because not
Especially
working
it feels
place.
responsible. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, what you
yeah,
said?
that's right. Well, you don't want to work from the place like a lot of people are like, I'm not safe, so I have to risk. And then you're now the gambler. And you know where gamblers often end up. The house normally wins, right? So to me, it's like get as safe as you can, as fast as you can, and then never play with that money. Make sure that that money is responsibly managed. And then all of the new money coming in or extras, go take some chances.
Yeah. I mean, I have like a personal rule for me is I am only allowed to ever put more than 10%. So 10% or less of my net worth in any one thing. And then every year, because I do like a bit of novelty and I have a pretty off the charts risk drive, but I do. I mean, like the safety is there, bases are covered. And so then I only allow myself 10% of my net worth to put into these higher risk investments because I know from like it's almost like an intellectual, and you know me, it's like an intellectual I wanna underwrite and
Yeah.
research and all that, but there's no way in hell I'm risking my safety and my kinda steady Eddie climbers. So, I
You
think
know,
there's putting some rules in place is important, and knowing your personality.
yeah, I agree. So I'm probably more conventional than you are. So like, I probably have 5 things that we have our money in, right? Outside of a checking account for short periods of time when we are moving stuff around. I have like 5 places that I go to. And if like one or two or three of those collapsed, but then I also always have that attitude, like if I lost everything, which would be basically Armageddon, right? Like the markets would have to crumble. But if I lost everything, good for me. Like that would be such a good opportunity for me to go back to the savage mode and
Yeah,
drive.
see how sharp it is?
Yeah, sure, 100%. Like
Yeah.
whatever.
And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the coolest things about being an entrepreneur is the self-trust just really begins to skyrocket because it's same, it's like, "Well, I'm the one that built it, so build it
Yeah.
again, and I'll build
Yeah.
it better."
You build it
And so
fast.
that level of confidence, it's
Yeah.
like, you gotta earn that through
Yeah.
reps, it doesn't just show up.
Well, that's why, like, if you're like an NFL football star or a rapper or some other, like, real quick entrance to money, you see what money looks like with the bypass of personal development and skill set,
Yeah,
and
it's the lottery winner phenomenon.
it's an ugly look because you don't have any of the person to manage the correlation of income, right, or revenue. So, like, hopefully, you gain capital and you gain skill set development, perspective, mindset at the same, like, correlated right? So anyway, that's why, I guess we've heard all these, cliches where like if you redistributed all the money to everybody, the same people would end up having it in a short period of time. It's just because that wisdom is they're broke on everything maybe, but they're not broke on wisdom. Like you could take all my money, you can't take away my life story,
Mhm. Nope.
right? I know what the recipe looks like. So we can recreate it much faster because we made it at least once or twice along the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's powerful. So,
Yeah.
alright.
Uh,
Well, what are you working on? So, let's wrap it with, what are you working on anything
yeah,
exciting? Do you wanna share anything or point
no,
people anywhere?
I'm working on feeder businesses right now. So so this thing that I created several years ago or whatever, somebody else created and I exercised it. We closed just under 30,000 transactions. So
Incredible.
I should have last year. So I should have title, I should have mortgage, I should have insurance and private equity as feeder businesses around that because we're already driving the traffic. So I've iterated like 6 or 7 title companies in the last 90 days, a mortgage branch, JV mortgage, working on insurance and working on private equity. So like those are things that I'm working on, but I'm not working at like a frantic pace. I'm putting like 2 or 3 hours a week into it and we're moving the needle and it's going slow, but I'm in no rush because I've already figured out other things. So like I'm enjoying the process. And in each project I'm working with someone new, not new in my life, but new that I've worked with. And we're kind of seeing how that all goes. So that's what I've been up to, but mostly just trying not to break character. That's a full-time job for me,
Mhm.
you know?
It's
So
true.
so
I
anyway,
like
that's
it.
always like build character and don't break it. Like grab an inch more on the tug of war and don't give that inch away. And the more character that you build, right, the harder it
Mhm.
is not to break it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and there's something else when you were talking, I was thinking to myself is you are just now at the point of getting everything vertically integrated. So you were laser focused, and I think people miss this memo. You were on one thing for almost a decade, and
yeah,
now, just now, you're
yeah,
like, "Okay,
yeah,
safe, solid, what's next? Title, let's
yeah,
vertically integrate," right? And I think can you just
yeah.
talk about that because that's super important.
Yeah, I'm not a short
You
order
didn't
cook.
starfish out of the gate.
Yeah, so I'm always narrow focus, right? Like that's why I wasn't like really good at dating. I was like, I would see a relationship from beginning onward, but everything else was white noise. So like I dial in, I have a very myopic way of seeing life, which is wonderfully professionally. It's a wonderful professional advantage. Um, I am not a juggler, but I will not drop one ball one time. Yeah. So I went like I had a standard. Like I was like, once this business makes $1 million a year, then I will then begin to be interested in other things like a personal life or a
Which is
hobby.
so much discipline in that.
Yeah. Well, here's the good news is that it doesn't take very long. So like I got to 1 million a year within 24 months of working on it from day one because I never distracted myself with other things. So like it takes longer than you think, but really, like, I think you can do almost anything in like 24 to 48 months on any topic if you only do that and you get better and you learn your lessons and you want it.
Well,
And then,
it's
yeah,
all this starting over and novelty that is the killer of success, and people don't realize it because they just wanna
so
follow shiny objects, and they're all over the place.
yeah, I mean, here's the thing it's like, it's, statistically speaking, it's a pretty long race, right? And like, we see so many people that are in front and then you click on the race 25 minutes later and they're not in the peloton. Right? So and then I also don't wanna be the turtle because I get, like, a lot of, like, anxiety if the lead is so far out to where I can't see it. I've gotta be able to have it within sight. So, like, the way that I know me, like you were saying, you have to know yourself, is, like, I need to stay middle of the pack knowing that I have enough resolve to put myself through pain and pass the top. So, like, I like to go, like, middle speed. Like, on the highway, if it's, like, 70-mile-an-hour speed limit, I'm normally driving around 79, 80 because I feel like I can stay under the radar, I can get to where I'm going, and then when the road opens up, if I'm in the car alone, I'll hit
Yep.
200 miles an hour
Right.
and turn up the volume on the music. I but I can't be going 50.
No.
So, like so
No,
that's the way that I work myself through it. Right. So anyway, and then the other thing is you lose track of time when you get daily victories. So like, I try to get all my victories done by 12 because if I decide that I'm going to blow up at 12 o'clock and just go hide or whatever, I don't have any guilt. Like if I can't get it done by 12 o'clock, then I have
not
a
doing it.
priority. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, okay, so where can people find you, follow
I
your work, support you?
thank you. And
LinkedIn?
don't support me. Support yourself. I'm good. No place to find me.
That is the most rich that's the most
Yeah.
rich answer
Yeah.
I think we've heard, so
Yeah.
well, Rich, thank you again for this conversation. I truly value how you think, and thank you for being a game changer in my life and so many other people and taking the time to do this podcast. It means a lot to
Yeah.
me.
Well, I know you're paying it forward, so I'm thrilled. Thank you.
Alright,
Okay.
I'll see ya.